Hey, everybody, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you. I want you to engage with me, please, right here on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Please. And of course, go to am950radio.com. But please meet me on Twitter. That's right, also known as X at Santita J. I'm on Blue Sky. Yay, I'm on Blue Sky. SantitaJackson.bsky.social. And the Santita Jackson and Friends page on Facebook. Everybody. That's the only place where I can accept friends. Please go to Santita Jackson and Friends. They are kicking people off of my friend confirmation list as we speak because the other page, the Santita Jackson page, that does not allow me to accept more than, say, 5,000 friends. And I want us to build our community. So let's do that. And so please go to Santita Jackson and Friends and meet me there. Become my friend over there. Okay? All right. Please, please do. You know what? We've got to talk about Social Security. I know we've been talking about it a lot, but now things are beginning to get real for a lot of people. You know, it was theoretical months ago, weeks ago, but now people are beginning to see the checks slow down, which means effectively that's a benefits cut. If you're expecting your check on X day of the month and it doesn't show up, you're already behind, right? That's happening. They don't have the staff that they used to have. The wait time that the former governor of Maryland, Governor O'Malley, who used to run Social Security Works, he had cut down the wait time. I think you said Alex Lawson, executive director of Social Security Works, down to 45 minutes.
Lower. Yeah, it started at 52 was the average wait time, and he got it down to 12 by the end of the administration.
Well,
and
that's over.
Yeah, he was the last Senate confirmed commissioner of Social Security Administration, and he was the example of a public servant who is trying to make things better. You know, recognizing things aren't perfect, but they're pretty good, and at Social Security. But there were staffing issues even before the Trump era. You were at 50-year staffing lows, but you know, he was focused and he got that average wait time down to, you know, that's a really amazing ability for people to get in touch quickly with the Social Security Administration, you know, which is enormous. $1.5 trillion of benefits a year, 73 million people. Like corporations can't do that. 12 minutes. Try to get a hold of, you know, somebody. You're just hitting zero. Operator, give me a human.
Minutes for any entity.
But now, after Elon Musk's Doge goons have taken a chainsaw to the Social Security Administration, you know, I was at an event with Senator Gillibrand from New York just the other day, and she was talking about a constituent who called in who was on the phone for 5 hours waiting to get through, and then the call was dropped. So they had to call back the next day, and they were on for 5 hours again. Like, that's the kind of just, you know, it's offensive when people pretend to this day, they write in the media, you know, the Department of Government Efficiency or an efficiency seeking, right? You're like, but no, I'm sorry. If you just go around lighting things on fire, you can't call yourself a firefighter.
No.
Or you can, but the media can't report on you as a firefighter when you're literally burning things down. It's not about efficiency. 52 minutes to 12 minutes, that's efficiency. That's Martin O'Malley making things more efficient for the people. You know, the Elon Musk Doge efforts are aimed at destroying. And unfortunately, you know, I always wish I could come on. The next time I come on, I'm like, and the good news, Santita, is, but it's not. We don't have good news yet. It's still getting worse.
But you know, but Alex, I think it's important for us to tell the story because we don't want Social Security to be blamed. and their
Absolutely.
workers. They did not collapse. The system has been collapsed. And Bernie Sanders said, this $700 billion in cuts, all of this is for the benefit of privatization. What does that mean? I mean, how would that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a con that's very old, and you can see it all over. It's gangster government. It's just a gang of morally unfocused people come in, they take over a government, and then they just start looting the public resources for private gain. So they just sell off things for pennies. And you can also think of it, it's basically, it's a venture capital, a VC style operation. So they're trying to do to Social Security what they did to Toys R Us, right? What they do is they take over, they hollow it all out, they cause the chaos and the breakdowns, and then they charge or sell services to quote unquote fix it, right? So the checks were going out on time and in full for 90 years. And then all of a sudden, there starts to be these issues right after Elon Musk gets in there with his chainsaws. And now they're going to come and say, oh, Social Security is the problem, and we need to fix that problem. I'm going to hire, it's going to be a private-public partnership that'll use the miracle of the market to fix things. I mean, this is the same garbage that they've sold over and over and over again. Like, the most close analogy is what they did to Medicare, right? Medicare, guaranteed health care for people over the age of 65, some other things like disabilities, end-stage renal disease. But the point is, you get sick, you get the care that you need, full stop. That's what Medicare is. And we need that for everybody. Now, we need to improve Medicare. It's not perfect. It doesn't cover eyes, ears, and teeth, which I don't have a medical degree, but I do believe that those are part of our bodies and our health. So that was the insurance companies kicking that out. But then they're not even, they weren't even satisfied at that. So they went in and they got the Republicans to privatize parts of Medicare. And the biggest con that they played was they put Medicare in the name of the privatized part of it, right? So it's called Medicare Advantage. And a lot of people, they believe that they like their Medicare Advantage, but most of that is people who don't use their Medicare Advantage. They don't have serious health issues. That's the con of insurance. I'll get back to Social Security, but the point is, what the insurance companies do is they delay and they deny. So when you're a private company, what you do is you hurt and prey upon and profit upon the most vulnerable and those with the without a voice, and you pretend to everyone else that everything's going fine. So that's privatization. It breaks down over time because in the end, the private market cannot deliver the same as like traditional Medicare, Social Security. This whole canard that only private industry can do XYZ, like, yeah, maybe get candy bars, a plethora of candy bars, but actually only not private industry can deliver certain services at a level that's necessary because there's no profit to be made, right? Like, that's Social Security. You can't make money off of a system that's delivering all of its value back to the people who pay into it. We don't pay for any profits. We don't pay for any golden yachts for people. And that's why the billionaires hate Social Security. They got one of their own in there. He's busting things up. And then they're going to try to pretend they're going to ride into the rescue. You're going to have like Bezos and Zuckerberg and that other guy, Andreessen or whatever, be like, oh, well, we need to, inject some market fundamentals into Social Security. Whenever those guys are talking, just recognize they're getting ready to rip you off, right? Like, that's what they're doing. Whatever they're saying, you should just know that what they're doing is getting ready to rip you off. And that's where we are with Social Security right now.
But that's where we are with everything, because we think that if we privatize, it's better. And that is not the case. I mean, you would not have the athletic talent, the musical talent, a lot of the academic talent that we have, unless they had come through public schools. But somehow or another, I remember when I was a child, a friend of mine went to Catholic school, and she said, well, I've gotten, B, everybody talks about what they get or they do not during, I guess, during, grading period. I said, well, got two A's, three B's, a C, but in public school, a B is an A. In public school, this would be an A. In public school, my C would be a B. I'm like, no, that's not true. But okay, there were no merit scholars coming out of your school, no Illinois State scholars, but who am I to quibble? Okay. But we have a thing about that. And we're watching, the common good shredded. Because look, one of the things that I was struck by your comments about this analysis that is really looking at just we're watching this train wreck in real time. Esther Bradley Detali says mafia style. That's what she was talking about. Your remark about how this is being done, because this is being done in such an aggressive and ugly way. And they're disparaging a whole agency, the workers in it, the people who are recipients. They're saying that it's a Ponzi scheme. Before I even get to your comments, talk to me about the Ponzi scheme, because I have had several arguments about the Ponzi scheme that Elon Musk described, right? And now people have latched onto it, and they're like, well, it is a Ponzi scheme. You don't have enough workers to fund it. This is, I said, wait a minute. Explain, help me to understand why this is not what is a Ponzi scheme and why is this not a Ponzi scheme to your understanding?
Yeah, it's not, I will just say, it's not to my understanding. It's literally objective fact, right? Okay. And this is the game of the billionaire sorcerers. They think they can cast a spell and just lie, right? And just like wave their hands, and then the facts don't matter. That's not true, right? Like when at the end of the day, there are things that are true and things that are not true. And Ponzi schemes are illegal frauds perpetrated by a criminal or a criminal gang for the enrichment of that criminal or that criminal gang. And it's based on the greater fool. So as long as you can get another person to invest money in a fictional system, right? So that's the point. It's a fraud. It's based on a lie. I'm going to invest in these stamps that are going to create such a return that you're guaranteed a 25% return on your investment. Anytime somebody says a guaranteed percentage on your investment, that person is a fraudster. It's just, there's no guarantee on things. So except, this bogus lie. So the point is, at the center of it is this fraud perpetrated to enrich someone. The stamps is actually the original one, Ponzi, who actually is a really fascinating story. And I don't want to get too deep into it, but everyone should read about it. It's pretty fascinating. He didn't really know what he was doing. So at that time, they were like, oh, well, maybe this will work. You can just bring in new investors. And then they were like, hey, this will never work. And it has to be illegal because it can get so big that it can take down an entire economy if you get enough people in on it, which has happened. Google Estonia. But those are perpetrated by the private side. Again, that's the key. People make money off of it. Now, what Social Security is completely different. Social Security is the social insurance program. And now I do have to do a little bit just because I love your show. Your people are so awesome that they want all the nerdy historical details. We'll just keep coming back and explaining it. So Bismarck, Otto von Bismarck, who united the Prussians. One of the things that gave the German state under the Prussians, the nascent, the new formed German state, was this sense of the state actually took care of the citizens at some level, which was different than the sort of Dixonian, like the billionaires of the time would get all of the money and the poor are just left to be Oliver Twist and die in the streets. That was the laissez-faire sort of idea, right? And just read Charles Dickens. And this other system was they learned it actually from the monks that brewed all the beer, and they looked at it, and these monks were able to pay in during their lives. And then when they couldn't work anymore, they were able to take what they paid in, and it's an insurance system, right? So it was the same. People with ledgers could look at it in the same way you buy fire insurance or shipping insurance, but this is social insurance, right? So it's about the loss of wages. If you have a society built on wages, you need wages for housing, for food, for other things, then you have to protect against the loss of those wages. And that was a social insurance program. The New Dealers, like Francis Perkins, were looking at this, and obviously there's a bunch of time from Bismarck to the New Deal, but it was forming around that time, right? This is
I was saying, but that's in that same cycle of history.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly right. And sort of the New Deal is a bunch of ideas from that time of, hey, the state can come together in a way that private industry cannot. And it's just the choice. Is it going to be for the benefit of the billionaires, like all of the railroad concessions and all the things that made the robber barons, or is it going to be for the people? And that's the New Deal.
Let me just, but I just want to underscore what you just said. I think you made a brilliant point about this particular cycle of history out of which these ideas and ideals were enhanced and evolved. Because you had people, I look at The Crown, I love that series. And it was interesting, not for the gossipy aspects, but it was interesting to hear the thinking of those people who are the masters of the universe, the rulers of the world, people who believe that God divined them to rule over us, right? And we pay them to rule over us. And every time there was a rebellion against the crown, Queen Elizabeth asked, are they communist? And what's interesting about Russia is that they defeated the monarchy, and they've always been hated for that, because they said no. Now have they made mistakes along the way? Of course we all do, but that's very, very interesting. And it was in that period that I think that there was another consciousness that was awakened in people. Alex Lawson, the executive director of Social Security Works, we're talking with him right now, because I think it's important for us because some of us have been misled into believing that we don't deserve Social Security. Mm-hmm. If you listen to Elon Musk, who's now about to create a town in Texas, Alex, hello.
I know.
Whoa, wait a minute. And the people just outside of the town might not be able to get to the beach. They've got to go through his town. Oh my gosh. But if you listen to these oligarchs, they're the ones who are telling everybody that you're mooching off of the state. And wait a minute, these are the biggest mooch. These people are mooching off of the state. Alex, help me. Because my listeners and my viewers really listen to people like you, and there are not that many of you, sadly, because then they can take your information and present the right argument. Mm-hmm. And then maybe they won't, because I know a lot of people who feel. I was in a line at the store, and this woman was having trouble. I was lost in thought, and I realized, because it was taking a minute to get through, and when I kind of snapped out of my reverie, I said, well, she's having trouble paying for this. And she was an older woman. And I just got the sense that we were in Whole Paycheck, Whole Foods. I said, it's not like that. I'm brimming with all of this money. But I said, no. Let me take care of this. And she was like, oh, no. I said, ma'am, the fact that you're breathing means you deserve. And if it were my grandmother, I would hope that someone would help her. I said, they have gone on to glory. So please bless me please let me get you an Uber and you go on home. Did you get everything you needed? I mean, there's this. It's the cruelty. This is someone who said he is missing the capacity to empathize, and yet we are trusting and entrusting him with the public good, Alex.
Yep.
There's something wrong with that. And which takes me to this study, which is why I had to call you. I mean, because I said, wait a minute. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, they warn that these Trump officials, that the breaking down of the system has already hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you were very nice. You did not curse in your comments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. But you did give these people a piece of your mind. You told Common Dreams.
I probably did curse, to be honest. They probably just edited it out.
I think they edited it out. I said he was being very nice. You said that this analysis helps show, quote, the Trump administration and its goons are waging a full-scale war against Social Security. Full-scale war, everybody. They are forcing millions of Americans into Social Security offices at the same time. They are cutting a huge percentage of the workforce. You continue. They are forcing millions of Americans into Social Security offices at that same time. The Trump-Musk regime has one goal: wreak Social Security, wreck it, excuse me. No, you said wreak. They have it here, wreak Social Security so they can rob it. When people can't get their benefits for any reason, this is a benefit cut. Of course it is. Because if your paycheck is late, that means you got to talk to a whole lot of people so that, okay, my rent, whatever. Help me.
Yeah,
help me to understand what happened with this study. What have they found out already?
So it is wreck. Hopefully I said the right word.
You said wreck. They put wreak, and I said wreak havoc, but no, if wreck means text clues.
But I actually stole that from Commissioner O'Malley, that line. So they want to wreck it to rob it. That's what I was trying to reference for sure. And I want to talk about this study, and then I do think we should talk about bigger, because it isn't just about Social Security. That's why I think it is useful to talk about the philosophical worldview that leads to successful things like Social Security. But what CBPP, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, who are a really well-respected think tank, me and them don't agree on everything. I'm much more comfortable with much higher tax rates on billionaires, for example. But you need people who are trusted on the numbers, right? Because it's like, I've been saying this, and we know what we're talking about, but CBPP runs the numbers, and they weren't the only one. Another think tank called Urban Institute, which is even more centrist than CBPP, are running the numbers, and they're like, oh yeah, this is absolutely true. Millions of people are going to be affected by this, and you can run numbers. So, the Urban study found that there's going to be 6 to 7 million people who are in desperate straits. Those are my words, but they do not have the financial solvency to weather even a single month of disrupted benefits. And what CBPP found is that this is happening already. It's what we know because we're hearing from people and the workers, but people's benefits are being interrupted already. Some of those are people claiming disability benefits. They're in the process of, and then the process has just been arrested. It's been stopped because of the wholesale destruction of the Social Security Administration. So a big part is the destruction of multiple regional offices, which handled more complex cases. And also the breakdown of the staffing levels. So in a lot of offices, they literally are looking at the loss of 50% of their workforce, right? So the offices have one worker instead of,
the office has one worker.
And now what they're talking about, and this is absolutely true and not reported enough, Dudek was just in Wisconsin. They're looking to close those offices and co-locate them in other federal buildings. So, you'll have one Social Security person at a VA hospital who is going to be, supposed to be able to do their job. It's a ridiculous setup. And so you don't have to give them the benefit of the doubt. And that's what CBPP does. It's like, don't just believe their hand waving and that everything's going to be fine. They go on TV still to this day and are like, oh, we're not going to touch your Social Security. And you're like, you did already. You already did it. And CBPP runs the numbers and they're like, checks will not go out to everybody in full and on time because you can't provide the services with the staffing levels that are currently there. And that is, I will also say, all of this now, we have enough data to go retrospective. And you know this, Santita, because you were on this really early. When we're ringing the alarm bell, we get called where they're like, hey, find me all of the people who've already been impacted. And we're like, we're saying it's happening now and will get worse and worse and worse. So we're actually trying to say it before. And sure, here are all of the people. Just Google it and look at the mainstream media's reporting. And you don't even have to read only the mainstream media if you've got the MAGA folks in your life. The right-wing media, the more, Newsmax is randomly on top of this often. Newsweek is randomly on top of this because they know that their readers are older people who depend on Social Security. So people are already being impacted. And then this is what we keep coming on to tell people. It will get worse. There's no way it can get better because they're continuing to destroy. It's not just like if they stopped, things would fix it themselves. They wouldn't. But not only are they not stopping, they're accelerating. And so that's that. And that's, I try to land this, but it's maybe too big to land. It's why it's important to understand that their worldview is what's driving it. They don't want the system to work. They want to destroy the system because they see things that work like public education, the postal service, Social Security, things that work for the people, for the many, that empower the many against those things that empower the few, right? So the oligarchy versus the government of the people. And they want to destroy things that are of the people. Because they want an oligarchy, right? That's their driving. And so they're using the tools of democracy to destroy democracy. That's what they're doing.
Well, they've moved from monarchy to oligarchy. I mean, constitutional monarchy to a constitutional republic. And Alex Lawson, I'm wondering, where is this? When will we... There's something, somebody has to say something because now we're seeing the stories add up, right? Oh, okay. We're now beginning to hear people's stories, and I want to hear yours. What are you hearing? What are you seeing, everybody? Have you had to call Social Security? Have your parents, have your loved ones had to call Social Security? Have you heard about that? I'm beginning to hear these stories myself. I'm beginning to hear them, everybody. And they're distressing because most people, Alex Lawson, have very tight margins. Lynn Richardson, who's a brilliant financial analyst, she has a book that is entitled From Payday to Monday. By the time people get a check, they are already behind. Mm-hmm. And it's not because they've mismanaged their funds. Real wages have not moved in 50 years. It's not that people don't know how to manage their money. The rich have gotten richer and the poor have gotten poorer. And now we're bone on bone because we're losing the middle class, Alex. Mm-hmm. So so when you drive through the fast food restaurant and you see grandma and grandpa, increasingly they are working there, Alex. Mm-hmm. They are on the bus stops early in the morning or late in the evening. Is this the kind of society we want?
and I don't want to just be a doom sayer all the time, but I want people to be prepared, because I am a student.
For what?
Bad times, because everything that we're talking about now and its grimness, you have to remember that the Biden, and I'm not saying you don't, but the Biden economy, just like inflation was bad from the pandemic.
Yeah.
But if you looked at the labor market, it was white hot. Wages went up for the first time in forever. Like that happened under Biden.
Mm-hmm.
The economy was really amazing. The American economy is amazing. Like you compare it to Europe or Japan or any of our peer nations in the post-pandemic era, and you're like, wow, is the American economy amazing? Distributional, there's huge problems, right? The rich were soaking it all up. So we needed to get some of the gains of the economy as a whole and spread them out to the workers who were making those gains. But now, this is the doomsayer part. I mean, you don't have to be a student of economics to understand that Donald Trump started a fight that was a lose all around fight. I mean, he doesn't understand the setup of you can start something where everybody loses. That's totally possible. And that's what the tariff and the trade war is going to be. There's empty shelves coming. Even if China and America struck a deal tomorrow, which they won't, because China has absolutely no incentive to strike a deal with Donald Trump when he is begging them. He started the fight, and now he's begging them for a deal. Even if they cut a deal tomorrow, the shipping and supply chain problems will take months to wind their way through. So you're looking at all through the summer and the fall. Plus, they fired over 100,000 federal workers, pushed out or fired. There are a lot of younger people who have never been in a recession. They've never been where unemployment skyrockets. So this has all of the pain so far has been in an environment of very low unemployment. And high inflation is terrible. I am never going to say anything different. But high unemployment destroys a country, right? Like destroys it. Yeah. High unemployment is the Great Depression, 25%. 1 in 4 workers can't get a job. The recession that's very possible, maybe probable at this point, you put that on top of the destruction of these systems that were put in place out of the carnage of the Great Depression, a giant global depression. And that's where you have to really have a vision for how grim it can get, right? That's where if you don't have Social Security checks coming and everything around is collapsing, the economy's collapsing, people don't have jobs. The carnage from that is death in the streets, right? Like people dying in the streets, the people being thrown out of their medical care, nursing homes collapsing, right? I mean, like, goes on. And the idea that, like, oh, well, they'll never let that happen. First of all, they're not competent enough to do even like the simplest things. So that, I mean, the incompetence should terrify everybody, right? Like you're giving the most incompetent crew. They literally added, Santita, a reporter to their secret illegal signal chat, right? Like, and then that guy failed up. He got fired for sure, but he was also promoted. You know, he's now the ambassador to the UN. So
to the world. On our behalf.
Yeah.
That's what you are.
So that's what these incompetent fools are. But even if they were the best and the brightest, once a self-perpetuating system starts falling, it is impossible to stop it. So then you do have to, this is why I keep coming back to this. If you listen to the oligarchs, if you listen to them talking to themselves and their acolytes, you will understand that they want that to happen. They want a managed destruction of the state as it exists today to protect the people so that they can build a new thing that is for the oligarchs.
Because see, this is not, that's what I'm saying. I don't think with the chaos that we're seeing, this is not unplanned. The presidency is an office, everybody. It doesn't work that way. First of all, you just don't walk up in there. Let's get real, Alex. You're not elected, you're selected. Okay? That's just the reality. We've done it, gotten real close to it, and it is very, very real because you've had the last person who really, well, Carter tried to change some things, they got him out of there real fast. The last person who did that before him, they got him out of there real fast. His name was John F. Kennedy. He said, no, I'm going to expose all of these secret societies. He was gone in months. He said, no, the Federal Reserve, our money is backed on nothing. We got to get away from this. This is not going to work. No, we're going to, the CIA, no, we're going to have peace. I'm going to work this out with Russia. They got him out. We have to get real about the rot in the system. And it is a system that does not care about people. But that's the system. We have to care about people, Alex. Mm-hmm. I know when I call you, and bless your heart, you're always so gracious in, if you have the time, you make the time to come on the show. Because I think you have to continue to drum into people, because they changed the old language around this. They call this entitlements, as if you're taking something that doesn't belong to you. Alex Lawson, that's not true. And I just, and that's why I'd like for you to explain all of these things, because now we have people. I went into the store early this morning after I'd finished the Reverend radio show, which I want you to do next week. I'm already calling you in advance on that on Sunday morning. Yes. I am.
Done.
And yes. And they had, and I haven't seen it before, they had all of these photos of people who had engaged in credit card fraud. I said, well, I've never seen that before. And it's a really lovely store. And he said, yeah, typically we have a lot of bags covering it. Oh, Alex, you're going to see so much more of that. I think you're going to see a lot of awful things happen in grocery stores. You're going to see you could see a societal collapse. That's the dirty little secret that they don't tell us about the Great Depression. That people were so furious that you had to have Franklin Roosevelt. He had to be in there 4 terms because we were on the verge of revolution and the oligarchs were scared out of their wits then. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, the bankers caused the global collapse and they had no idea what to do. Ooh. This was one of those things where, and if you read Zach Carter's biography of Maynard Keynes, The Economist, I just can't recommend that book highly enough. Genius work. But they didn't know. The economy is still mysterious. So, I mean, if you just look recently at predictions, right, you'll see that they still are we're basically guessing and we get it wrong quite often. But they've got some general ideas of how to mitigate away from absolute carnage. That's basically as far as we've gotten, how to steer away from Great Depression level societal collapse, because that is what happened then. It was global too, and it led to the rise of fascism, right? World War II, the Nazis, Mussolini, fascism in Italy, Franco in Spain. We're
seeing it now.
Of course, yes, the rise of the right. Although Donald Trump's incompetence has been the biggest boost to left-leaning or left governments. I mean, now we've got Canada and Labour in Australia who both had these turnarounds. I don't have a name for it yet, but it's the president uncertainty. Everyone's like, no, we don't want that. Not that, please. But the point is, the Great Depression was this incredibly important time where there was I could go earlier because you can actually like the fact that we let these people like Elon Musk try to claim the like mantle of like patriotism or something like that, and you're like, no, man, like there's been a ton of bad stuff that has happened that this country has led or been part of, but there's also been a ton of stuff where you're like, man, the vision of that, as imperfect as it is, built upon in time, is really spectacular. All of those are when it's for the people, right? So the only time things that have made America great are when the people have used the levers of this young nation to be like, hey, you know what we should do? We should have post offices everywhere in the country so that everyone can communicate. And it's not just the landed gentry and the rich who can write for a redress of their grievances or otherwise communicate. Everyone gets it. The Postal Service, right? That is a fundamentally American concept that is brilliant. Public school is the same thing.
Yeah.
These are ideas where they're like, you know what we should do? We should educate all the children in the country in the public square as a public good, because it's going to benefit all of us together. Those are the things that we should be proud of. These guys, I mean, you already brought it up, but Elon Musk literally went on a podcast and said, empathy is the downfall of the West. And you're like, you've got the book upside down, man. You've got the book upside down. You don't know. Like, I wonder when he watches Star Wars, does he know who the villain is? Like, how do you get the analysis so wrong?
But you have traumatized people. I've been looking at Dr. Gabor Mate. I didn't realize he was Aaron Mate's father. Brilliant physician who really has taken the time to analyze people. And he said, the West is run by a lot of traumatized people. Because you can see it in the cruelty. I would dare say we've all been traumatized to one extent or another, right? I look at my own parents and I see the traumas, but they didn't use their trauma their traumas did not embitter them. It made them better. They came out wanting to, okay, we're going to have a family and we're going to keep everybody together. We're going to do this. That's why, please, Thanksgiving, I called my father. I said, I found a cheaper ticket, even though my father and mother always bought the tickets. I called the office. I said, Dad, it's cheaper if I come home Thanksgiving morning, like 7 o'clock in the morning. My father knew I had no problems getting on an early plane. He was like, absolutely not. I want all of my children under this roof tonight. I never realized he never had that experience. He said he had never spent a night under the same roof as his mother and father. So it meant everything in the world to him, because he would come around to our rooms in college, Alex, and he was like, I'm so glad everybody's home. Now, mind you, he was going to leave on Saturday because he had to go to work. But these people have been very traumatized. And if you listen to their backgrounds, if you listen to Elon Musk's background, God bless him, there's a lot of pain there. And I'm not excusing him, but I am looking at him and saying, wow, you have a lot of people who have been exposed and who have endured many cruelties, and then they inflict them on other people. Because when you have been well loved, that's what you pass on. Or at least if you come out of the pain, you say, I don't want to inflict that upon anyone else. If you say that you have no empathy, which you have the book upside down, absolutely. It's like, wait, and you said that out loud. But that lets me know how you're going to govern. It lets me know how you do your companies, because you walked into Twitter before you changed the name and just fired everybody. No, my father can't fire, because he's never been able to fire anybody, because he saw people as part of an ecosystem. And even if they were not performing well, Alex, his thing was, if they lose this check, they can't pay their rent, or they can't pay their mortgage, or their child is going to miss a meal. I can't do that. Okay? These people who do this, when you look at their backgrounds, They are cruel. No one who's kind would do this to anybody, Alex.
Yeah.
Nobody. You telling old people, folks whose parents have gone on to glory. You don't need this check. Well, just you figure it out. While he's making billions of dollars, and he has all of his exes or whomever, the mothers of his children and the children living on a compound, they're not missing any meals. And he was born. He wasn't born on third base. He was born having made his father made home runs already. He was very wealthy and very connected. Social Security is that's at the end of the line for you. How are you going to take that from somebody? You help me to understand, what are people supposed to do now, Alex?
Yeah.
Because the checks are slowing up because no one can help folks. What are they supposed to do?
So a few things to protect themselves. And I do think that it is so important to have community now, and have communities taking care of each other, and especially the most vulnerable. So churches, book groups, whatever it is. People need to understand that Social Security checks could be disrupted. And I really want to be clear. The money is still yours. It's ours. We pay for it. It's legally ours. They cannot take our money. But what they can do is they can interrupt our ability to get that money. And so what we need is for people to understand that they need to, and there's millions of people. This is what the CBPP and the urban studies were pointing to. There are millions of people who cannot set aside a bit of money for if there's a missed Social Security check, because they're already, as you said, as soon as they get the check, they're already behind because of a number of factors, not least of which is low wages during their working life, right? Wages haven't gone up, and that follows people into retirement. A lot of women have very, very low benefits due to low wages and interrupted work experience in their life, and just institutional sexism, right? People of color, African Americans, lower wages because of institutional racism, that follows people into retirement with Social Security. So there's a lot of pieces of the structures of violence that also follow people into retirement. And so there are people, though, who can put some money aside. And we're literally saying, put some money aside, because you're planning on every month your Social Security check's going to get there in time and on full, and it might not. So if you can, put some money aside for if that interruption happens. But also, this is important, the money's legally yours, so you have to be diligent. So if there is an issue, you immediately start the process of appealing it and getting it fixed so that you do get your check in time and on full. So because it's, we've seen things like people declare dead when they're not dead. And they don't just miss 1 month of Social Security checks. It takes months for them to get things turned back on. Now that money is all there, so it all comes back. But the interruption can be deadly, or at least devastate a person's life, right? It can just kick them off, especially if they're already very vulnerable, like a 92-year-old or a person with severe disability, right? Like one wrong turn and they have their life is ended prematurely. And so prepare for some bad times, right? Like whatever stories you need to use to remember the setting aside some good harvests for the bad harvest to come. We need the Social Security is actually that, right? That's what the system does, but they're trying to wreck the system so they can rob it. So make sure you know what your benefit is. Make sure you know when it's supposed to hit your account. You can look at your statement on myssa.gov or ssa.gov, myssa. Or you can look at your bank statements and see it. Make sure you know what you're supposed to get and when, every penny. Contact the constituent services representatives in both your senators and your House your elected federal representative in the House. Does not matter what party they are. This is the constituent services side of the office. It's casework. Their job is to ensure that you receive every penny of federal benefits that you've earned, that are yours. As soon as you see something, you got to start the process for the remedy, because the sooner you start it, the sooner the check would come back to you and the disruption is minimized. So that is an important thing here. The money's yours. They're not able to steal the money, but they can delay getting it to you, and that can cause enormous harm. So it's about reducing the harm that can come from disrupted Social Security benefits for yourself, for your family, for your loved ones. If you know that you have family members who might not be as technically proficient, now is the time to help them log into the Social Security website, reset their password, use the new, this is one of Elon Musk's Doge goons thing, the new biometric system that they force people to use. And if you don't get it right, and a few times you get locked out and you have to go to the Social Security office to unlock it. But those offices are, if you don't make an appointment, you get sent away, and you're, where am I going to make an appointment? They're like, do it online. Yeah, I'm locked out of online. That's why I'm here. And they're like, oh, well, use the phone system. Well, it took 5 hours. I tried. I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. That is unfortunately a system that people are encountering right now. It's a cruel system because you've got 7,000 fired workers now. They're pushing it to 10,000. This is a 57,000, 50-year staffing level lows already. But here's a new one, Santita, that is really just devastating. 30% of Social Security workers already are eligible for retirement. Many of them just want to stay in because they believe in the system. They know what it means for people. Like, these are public servants. But in reconciliation, which is the budget process that they're going to use to try to destroy Medicaid, and what they've done is they've created a choke point where they destroy workers' retirement and health benefits if they don't retire before those things are enacted, right? So you just got to follow. So it's like terrible and cruel that they are stealing people's retirement benefits and would force people to work like 10 years longer to get the same benefits. But then you're missing the second layer of the attack is, or like, it's easy to miss. They're forcing enormous numbers of workers to retire by saying, if you don't retire, you're going to actually get hit in the pocketbook. So we're expecting enormous numbers of workers to leave, enormous numbers more than the 7,000 to 10,000 already. So this is coming. Like, the system is creaking down, and that's what we're warning people about. The only thing that we don't know is it going to be like a catastrophic collapse, like everyone's check doesn't go out for 1 month, 2 months, or is it like some people over here? And it's hard to imagine, but like, think about Spain and Portugal. The electricity just went out in the whole country.
All of it. The
whole country, right? Like, they couldn't think of that before. They're like, oh, there's no way that can happen. Guess what? Things like that can happen. We have a very orderly society, but it can devolve into chaos quite quickly. And, even our orderly society is not that orderly. And so, like, the distance between, chaos and collapse is really not that far. So we are warning people. Social Security has long been 90 years, a rock that people can count on. And just, I don't want to get too remembering the philosophy, but like, think of it as teams. The team that was for the many, for the people. And this is historical. You can go back to ancient times. It's been, there's just two gangs. One of them is like the people. We should get all of the gains from our own labor. And then the few, the oligarchs, right? The whatever you want to call them, who are like, no. We should get the gains of all of your labor. Elon Musk's dad and his apartheid brethren, right? They got the gains of all of the Black South Africans' labor in an apartheid racist government that was set up to do so. And Elon Musk gained that cruelty. Like that's a good functioning society. This is what we're going. That's what we're in. We're in the fight between these two factions. And Social Security was one of the biggest successes in the fight for the many. It's so successful that it has stabilized things for almost a century. And that's why they're wrecking it. They want the chaos that comes from getting rid of this amazingly stabilizing system, because they believe that they can harness the chaos. Or, I mean, you don't have to be a huge student of history to see that the very wealthy and powerful oftentimes just blow the whole thing up because they are so arrogant that they can't understand that an enormous amount of their success has just been luck, right? Like Elon Musk was lucky. He was lucky. His money came from PayPal. Same with Peter Thiel and most of these tech authoritarians, the tech bros, the broligarchy. You know what they made all their money from? PayPal. You know what the amazing vision that PayPal took was? People are going to buy things on the internet, right? Like that's not genius, Santita. That's just like being in the right place where the publicly created and publicly funded internet was turned into a commercial good. They just happened to be the right age at the right time to exploit a public resource, the internet. And so I don't want people to freak out, but I do want people to prepare. I want them to prepare for disruptions in the way that things have been, because they're coming. It's soon, like it's soon. The tariffs have just bit on May 1st. So all the things that you see in the news and the stock market, that's all been about how bad the tariffs are going to be in the future. Now we're in the trade war is hitting us right now.
That's it.
And so I don't want to freak people out. I do want to get people to be prepared. Know how much your Social Security benefit is. Know when it is deposited into your bank account. Have the contact information for your elected representatives, constituent services. If you're in California, Minnesota, or California, Michigan, or Arizona, we should try to get Minnesota to do this too. The attorney generals have set up forms where you can report any disruptions about your Social Security. So we think that that's really important, and hope other states join them in that. But a lot of that is just the sooner you get the official process going, the sooner you can return to getting your benefit. And if you can build a cushion for disrupted finances, do that. And if you know of vulnerable people in your community, now is the time to reach out. Now is the time to try to help people weather what is a created storm, a self-inflicted catastrophe that we all see coming.
Alex Lawson, Executive Director, Social Security Works. Social Security Works. Everybody, even if you can save a little bit of money, or if you have some soup and some soup cans, check on your neighbors. I always see the glory of God in everything, Alex. And this is a time in which, if we are wise, we will care for each other. And we will turn to each other, as my father says, not on each other. You will make sure that your neighbor eats, that your brothers eats. Because you are your brother and your sister's keeper. We all are. We owe that to each other. If you want to go far, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, we got to go together. And that's it. Social Security Works, everybody. My beloved brother, Alex Lawson, I love your passion, your fire, and your information. My guy. We're going to keep on getting at this. We're going to get this right, because we are going to win, because we're fighting.
Absolutely.
And When we fight, we win.
That we do. Can't agree any more than that. And through adversity, solidarity grows. So look to each other. We are the cavalry. We are the cavalry. Thank you so much for having me, as always.
Much love to you, such as we are. Much love to Alex Lawson and your beautiful family. All right, everybody, let's keep it going. I will see you in a few hours at 3:00 Central Standard Time. And but think about that. And please support Social Security Works. They are working to support you. If you keep on living, as my parents say, Social Security is something you're going to need. Now let's preserve it so we can get it, because everybody deserves it. We really do. Much love to you, Alex Lawson.
Thank you so much.
Santita Jackson Show, AM 950 Radio. God bless.